Hello and welcome to another tutorial from CamiPaige Boutique. I'm Brooke Tannehill and today I'm bringing you a yoga and chakra themed cup that was a custom order for a friend's wife's birthday that was just around the corner. It was so much fun to step outside of my comfort zone and use a color scheme and theme that is completely not the norm. As always, all the products I used will be listed in the description below, and you may even find a coupon code or two that saves you some coin. Also, we just launched our brand new Facebook group, so check out the link below and take advantage of a bunch of upcoming freebies and giveaways that you aren't going to want to miss. So without further hesitation, let's go ahead and get started. I started with a fully prepped and sanded cup, and then I took the cup outside and did a 3-color ombre with spray paint. I started with an Oasis Blue, which is the lightest blue color. Then I came in with Saint Tropez, and then finally Lagoon. And what I wanted to do with these 3 spray paint colors is really lay down a really good foundation for when we started to do the 3-color ombre with our glitters that really coincided well with these different spray paint colors. I let the spray paint dry for about 45 minutes, and then it was time to move into the epoxy method for applying my glitter. Now, I break one of my cardinal rules here by actually pouring the epoxy out onto the cup, but I did it just because I was having such a hard time getting the epoxy out of this large of a cup. So I just here in a second dump it on just so that I can get a nice even coat. But you'll see I do it in very, very, very small amounts because I don't want to apply too much epoxy to the cup because it just creates pooling and it's just going to have inconsistency in the glitter coverage. And that's not what we want when we're trying to get that perfect ombre with these glitters. After I was happy with a nice even coat of epoxy, I grabbed a couple of my favorite blues and teals from Glitter Heart Company, with the first color being Splash. Now this is a glitter I've used in a tutorial before, and it is my go-to light blue right now. I just love the coverage I get, and the color is just absolutely amazing. But to start my 3-color ombre, what I did is I just sprinkled a little bit of glitter on the bottom of the cup because you can't forget your bottom, but I'm also focusing on that bottom rim to start to cascade the splash or that light blue glitter into the teal section, but also covering that light blue section. So I'm holding the shaker a lot, like probably about 12 inches away from the cup, and just super lightly sprinkling the glitter to lay the groundwork for that first color in the ombre. Once I have pretty good coverage, I grab the next color, which is Waves from Glitter Heart Company. And this is such a pretty, just true teal color. I absolutely love it. And one thing you'll notice is I kept all of the cuts of glitter pretty similar on this cup because I feel like they blend better when you do that. So this is another, I would say probably a medium cut of glitter. And what I'm doing is I'm just tilting the cup back and forth to first blend the waves into the splash, but then also start to blend the waves into the 3rd color glitter that we'll be using on the top ombre. So really you'll see me, I'm just going back and forth with the cup to start the blends up at the top with the, or I guess it's the bottom, with the 2 lighter colors, but then also start to cascade that waves into the darker teal, which will be our next glitter that we use. The 3rd color I chose is called Tropical Storm, and this is pretty much my favorite glitter right now that I'm trying to use on everything. I've got it in a couple of upcoming tutorials. I just love it. It's got such a great sparkle to it, and there's just a huge depth, I guess you could say, or dimension, and I just absolutely love it. So what I'm doing is I'm starting at the top rim and just letting that Tropical Storm cascade down into the waves. So I actually think it's funny that all the glitter colors that I chose are ocean themed, but I think there's a reason because they blend so well, and I just love the aesthetic that they have. So that's like the start of the ombre, but what I'm going to do is just tilt the cup back and forth to blend the 2 well, I wouldn't say the 2 top colors, but the darkest teal with the medium color, and then also back and forth with the bottom light blue and again, the medium waves color. So just go back and forth until you get a blend that you're super happy with. And this is also why we use the epoxy method when you're doing this kind of ombre. The reason why I like epoxy better than Mod Podge is because you have that probably 30-minute to 45-minute working time frame that really allows you to take your time and get a really good blend, and you're going to be a lot happier with like a lot happier with it further on down the line. So don't be afraid to go back and forth. It's just going to help you have a more aesthetically pleasing cup and just get that better blend that you are going to want to show off to all your friends and family because you're going to be so proud of it. I typically move on from a step after I'm explaining it, but I really did want to show in this tutorial how much I really do go back and forth with the glitters to get a happy ombre, I'm going to call it, with my colors. So I don't want you to think it's just some magic trick that I do off screen. I did want to show you the full amount that I go back and forth with all the glitters to get that really great blend and that really great coverage. Once I let this dry for about 2 to 3 hours, I sprayed sealed this twice with just clear gloss spray paint. Let that dry for 45 minutes, and then I mixed up, I want to say about 40 milliliters of a little extra ink epoxy. Now, the reason why I do this is because if you're not familiar with this epoxy, it has the best, most amazing shine in the business, but it doesn't really like to be stretched. And honestly, this is a best practice for any epoxy that you're using. I wouldn't skimp on this coat, especially after you've just applied glitter, you have an ombre. I would make sure to err on the side of having too much epoxy, because even though I mixed up 40 milliliters here, I end up not using the full amount. But you want to make sure that you have plenty of epoxy so that you're not stretching the epoxy. It's not just a little extra ink, it's all of the brands, because you're going to get fish eyes, you're not going to get the nice smooth finish that you want. So make sure that you have plenty for your cup, especially if you have these larger cups like you see here, and just get a really nice base coat, because that's going to set you up for success for the next steps as we move on with this design. I let that turn for about 10 minutes, then popped any bubbles with a torch, and then it was time for our peekaboo. This cup needed 2 coats of epoxy before we moved into the peekaboo step, and actually it's really important that when you're doing a peekaboo that you have a nice smooth cup before you move into applying the decals and the spray paint, because anything that's rough or uneven or jagged will show. So it's super important that you have a nice smooth cup. I applied these mandalas using Oracal 631, and what I'm doing here is I'm just showing you how I like to put a little dab of hot glue on more of these intricate designs so it is easier to remove when it is time to pull the vinyl off after you've spray painted and you've got that nice coverage. Also, these mandala designs are uploaded in my CamiPaige Boutique VIP Facebook group. So you can hop over there and download them and use them on any cutting machine. So if you're interested, by all means, go grab them for yourself. So a little hack that I use after I apply little dollops of hot glue is I just take my scissors and just cut up all the wispies, and it just creates these little kind of jagged points that stick up that are easy to see underneath the spray paint. And this technique is actually a lot better if you were to do almost like a glitter peekaboo. So if you applied your spray paint and then did glitter over the top, you could see that. And that originally was my plan with this cup, and that's why I showed this step. But I decided it was going to be too much for the overall aesthetic I was going for, so I didn't use it on this design. So I took the cup outside and spray painted it just a matte white spray paint. I think the matte does a little bit better with alcohol inks, but I'm sure any white spray paint that you have on hand would work great. And I grabbed a Pinata Yellow. I'm not sure of the exact name of it, but I'll definitely link it down in the description. And what I wanted to do is kind of work in thirds around the cup. So I knew the top was going to be yellow, the middle color was going to be the green, and then the bottom was going to be a blue color. So all I'm doing here is taking a couple dots of the alcohol ink and then using the foam brush to kind of dab and spread the color out over the cup. Now it's important that you don't drag or you don't just like pull the color, because then it makes it more streaky and doesn't give kind of the puffs of color almost that I was going for with the look. I then moved into, I think this color is limeade, don't quote me on it, but I'll definitely link the correct color down in the description. And this is the Tim Holtz brand. And again, all I'm doing is I'm adding little dots of the green alcohol ink onto the cup. Now, I wanted to make sure to start the green alcohol ink over the top of the yellow. So that's why I did bring the yellow down further into the quote, like third, or into like the middle of the third section. So that way I can blend the two colors and get more of that ombre with the alcohol inks that we got with the glitter underneath it. So using kind of the visual guide of the ombre that is underneath the spray paint to help determine where we place our alcohol inks and how we blend the colors together. Here, I think you can really see more of those kind of poofs of color that I was talking about. I really need to come up with a better descriptor, but it's more of the kind of the cloud effect with alcohol inks. And you definitely get that more when you're doing more of the dabbing motion than if you were to pull it. Something else to note here is I also switched foam brushes because what I was worried about, and actually I tried it on the bottom, you can kind of see there, is that if I would have kept with the same foam brush that I was using before, a lot of that yellow was going to intermingle with the blue and just cause a lot of green everywhere. So I switched foam brushes, but what I did do here, and I'll do it here in a second, is I did come in with the green over the top of the blue up top and really blend it together using this foam brush because it was a little bit better than just, yeah, so I'm doing that right there, to blend the two colors and get that real ombre effect that I was going for with the three colors on this cup. One thing I really like about alcohol inks is that they're extremely forgiving. If you don't like something or if you mess up, don't think you have to completely strip the cup. You can either to continue to blend with the colors that you're using or come in with just some 91% alcohol, rub it over the area, and then you're good to go. So don't feel like you're gonna just completely mess up this cup. There's really no right or wrong answer as to how this looks. Just make sure to take your time, and if you don't like a section, maybe step away for a minute, come back, and just continue to blend your colors. One thing I didn't do on this cup that I wish I would have is spray down the alcohol inks before I remove any of the vinyl for the peekaboos with Krylon's Kamar varnish. What this does is it works, but I found it works better than just typical clear spray paint, but it protects your alcohol inks from fading when you apply the epoxy. Now, it's nothing that the epoxy did wrong. It's nothing that the alcohol inks did wrong. It just adds a barrier that protects the vibrancy from fading just because of another chemical reaction or them just being diluted when there's another substance, for lack of a better word, applied over the top of them. Now all I'm doing is I grabbed my weeding tweezers and I'm just taking my time removing the removable vinyl to expose the beautiful glitter underneath. This is a tedious process, but I feel like it's the most satisfying, so I really don't mind it. But some of those more intricate designs can take a while to remove their beautimousness underneath. I think that's a word, but it's something that I don't mind doing, and you can see here it's just how really pretty that came out. Once I had all of the vinyl removed, I mixed up, I would say, probably about 15 milliliters of a little extra ink epoxy, and what I'm doing here is just applying a thin coat that allows me to move into the next steps of the design without chancing messing up the design with water slides or any of the other decorating elements. So this is just an added step. You don't necessarily have to do this, but I recommend it so that way you don't mess up the alcohol inks, your ombres, or your peekaboos by applying more decorating factors. I let the cup turn for about 6 hours and I printed off these water slides. Now I sealed these 3 times with Krylon triple thick to make sure I had a nice coat over the top so your inks don't run and you get those great vibrant colors on your cup. So again, I sealed them 3 times with Krylon triple thick. Then I dipped them in a bowl of just warm water. Now, I've found that I get more cracking with my water slides if I use cool or cooler water. So I like to use just warm water to apply the cup, like the decals to the cup, and I just get better results. Use what works for you. I'm just sharing what my experience has been in the past. But all I do is I like to print my water slides on the front of the paper. You could obviously reverse them or mirror them, I guess is the better way to put it. But I just do it this way, and then I just take a damp paper towel, so it's got a little bit of water just in it, and push out the water that's underneath the water slide. And there you have it. So I just mixed up the green and the blue mandalas and applied them around the cup, but just using the same process. And one thing that you'll notice when your water slides to know when they're ready is when you first drop them in the water, they curl up. And then I found is once they start releasing and kind of opening up pretty good, that's a really good indicator that it's ready to apply to your cup. So make sure you're always applying the water slides on a wet surface. You don't want to just completely apply them dry. And take your time making sure to get all of the water out from underneath. and you will be good to go. I let my water slides dry overnight. Now granted, you don't have to do that before moving into this next step, but I just did because of the time of day it was. But what we're doing here is we are going to be using the Dawn Powerwash method to lay the groundwork for where our chakra symbols and will go on this cup. So what I'm doing is I'm using the Powerwash to outline a stripe of where we'll apply white spray paint, and then also just misting the back so we get a cool kind of textured effect with the white paint. So just semi-gloss white paint down the middle. And I'm just taking I don't want to say I'm taking my time, because you don't. You want to move pretty quickly with Powerwash because it does move on you the more you move your cup. But just making sure I get a nice, good coat over the Powerwash and then dunk it to reveal the beautiful pattern that's there. So again, I wanted this to look more organic. If you want more of a true stripe, you could obviously absolutely tape off straight lines down the front. But with the overall look of this, I wanted it to be more this kind of free-flowing and abstract versus just so uniform. I cannot get the print and cut functionality to work on my Cricut, so I printed the water slides separately, and you'll see that in a moment. But what I also did is I uploaded the same design into Design Space and just cut it with the circles of the symbols. And you'll see what I mean here in a second. But the reason why I did this is because even though we use the Powerwash method to lay down that white kind of stripe for the symbols to show up on, I really wanted their vibrancy to just shine. So I cut the circles using the same design in Cricut Design Space and laid them down. And what this allows me to do is to come in with the chakra symbols that are water slide and apply them over the top of the white vinyl that we just laid down. So I could probably do a tutorial specifically on how I do this. I could have used printed vinyl for this step, but I found that I just don't get the vibrancy that I do with water slides. So there's definitely a multitude of options that you could use for this step. This is just how I chose to go about applying this design element. Now, it wouldn't be one of my tutorials if I didn't share a struggle bus moment, but actually when I cut these circles, I forgot to weld them and get the spacing that aligned perfectly with my water slide. So what I ended up having to do is actually apply the water slide here, but cut it so that I could get the circles to align perfectly and give the right vibrancy to the different symbols. So here you can see I just cut the water slide and applied them over the circle of white vinyl. But do you see how well that color just pops? It just completely comes off the top of the cup. Like, it's just striking how vibrant those are. So that's why I chose to go this route. By all means, you can definitely use printed vinyl if you just wanted to do only the water slide on top of the Powerwash. By all means, it would still look beautiful. I just liked how just truly vibrant these designs were with the water slide over the top of the vinyl. So all we're doing here is just cutting the water slide, the clear area, and aligning it up for each of the different symbols. I did mess up on the purple, so I had to reprint it again, but I think you guys got the overall concept of what I was able to do with the vinyl water slide combo. Now, I'm going to be completely honest, I have no idea what the symbol means. I just thought it was pretty. I made sure that it was aligned with the chakra symbols, and I thought it was a really nice decal on the back. So I just used the silver, I believe it's silver, I'll definitely link the right color, but the textured vinyl from Cricut to add just this really pretty symbol on the back. And you can see that it really pulls the whole cohesiveness of the design elements together on the backhand side. So I was super happy with that. I actually liked the way the vinyl looked so much with its design that I decided to grab a little bit of She Said Yes from Glitter Heart Company, mix it in about 10 milliliters of epoxy, and just kind of strategically place it throughout the cup design. Now, I know I said Tropical Storm is my favorite glitter right now, but I might have lied to you because I'm pretty sure that She Said Yes either is my favorite or is a very, very close, like, equal. So I really love this glitter, and it's a really nice white and silver combination that's just, I really just loved with these different colors. So to start, before I apply the glitter that I mix into the epoxy, I just do another thin coat of epoxy over the entire design just to seal everything up, make sure we don't have any movements. And then also it allows the glitter mixture that we just did to lay flatter and require less coats of epoxy to finish the overall cup. So I apply a thin layer here, make sure that everything's nice and covered. Then we can move into the beautiful glitter mixture. So once everything's got great coverage, I'll grab my torch and pop any bubbles that may have appeared. I really didn't see any, but it's just kind of out of habit. And it also heats up the epoxy so that when you apply the glitter epoxy mixture to the cup, it's got a little more movement to it so you don't just get these massive clumps. But all I'm really going to do is just get some of the epoxy glitter mixture on my finger and apply it just kind of every here and there around the cup, just to give it a little extra sparkle and kind of pull in the silver vinyl that we use on the back of the cup. So I opted to stay away from the chakra symbols with the glitter because the color was so vibrant. I didn't want to take a chance of having it conflict with the glitter. So I just added it different places around the cup to just get that extra oomph and dimension. I know I say that word all the time, to the cup that I just really think added to the design. Once I was happy with the glitter placement, I let this spin for about 6 hours. Then I came in with another 25 milliliters of epoxy, and then this baby was done. I have to say, this is completely outside of the norm for me. It made me really step outside of my comfort zone, and I'm so happy I did it because I'm really happy with what the final results were. Thank you so much for tuning in. Here I wanted to show you just a quick video of the full 360 view of this cup. I know there's a lot of design elements and a lot of different steps, but I have to truly say that I think it was 100% worth it. I hope this cup inspires you to try different techniques or even mix and match different design components to create your own beautiful piece of art. As always, if you have any questions about what you saw today, please feel free to reach out. It's what I'm here for, and I love to assist. Thank you so much for watching. It means so much to me. If you like this tutorial, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you can see future videos. You can also ring the bell so that you are notified for all the future cup making goodies. Thank you again. I love you guys. Bye.